Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. I am so very happy you're here. And in this card, I am featuring pretty much 100% of Trinity products. All the products will be linked below. And I'm going to start off here by showing you the magnificent Marshmallow alpha dies. Anybody who knows me knows I am an alpha die maniac. I have to have them all. I love them. I love having options. I also love striped patterns, and I love this horizontal stripe stencil from Trinity. And this stamp set is fantastic because I'll show you when we get further on in the video, but I'm going to alter it and incorporate the dies into my sentiment. And I'm also using a little frame in here from the Monster Hugs frame and fold. This little frame right here fits around the sentiment perfectly. It frames it out nicely, and it gives a little stitched pattern to the edges. See how it fits around? And what's great about this stamp set is that you can use either stamp sentiment for the inside or outside of your cards. And I love Trinity brushes, the blending brushes. They stand up on their own, and they have these little caps. They're flexible, and they're very well made. And they have that little point, so you can get into small areas. I'm going to be coloring my sentiment with Copic markers. The colors are here, but I will also have them linked below, the colors I used if you're interested. And I'm also using Memento Tuxedo Black, Glossy Accents. You know me, I'm a Glossy Accents fan. Now these foam strips, foam tabs, I got these, I think, at the dollar store or Dollar General. I'm sorry, but I can't remember. But I'm using them because they're a little thicker than my normal foam tape, and I wanted a lot of dimension. I already framed out my card base to save time, and I'm using Tombow Mono Multi Glue, or however you say it. Now, I have a little bit of pixie spray, excuse me, on the back of my stencil. But with the stencil's a little thin, these stripes, so when you use it, the best bet is to go in the direction of the stripes. So that's why you see me here going on an angle. It just makes sure that the stripes don't move, and I get a nice crisp image. I'm using a light gray ink just to make a light background. Nothing crazy, I just wanted a neutral, soft gray background. So this is how it came out. The next thing I'm going to do is, what I like about this trimmer is that there are measurements you can look at, but I go by squares. Now I trimmed my black frame panel on my card base down by a half a square. And now this one I'm going down a full square. So this way I'll have a partially black framed mat on my card base. Did I lose you there? It might have been a little confusing. I'll show you here in a minute. I go by 1/4 inches. Those little squares on the trimmer are 1/4 inch squares. So yeah, see, I went down, when I trimmed my black piece, I just went down a half a square. And then when I trimmed my stencil piece, I went down a full square. So basically 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch for the normal world out there. Okay, now I'm just gluing down my stencil panel using my Tombow glue. Once that's on, I hold it a little bit because sometimes I'll push down and it'll slide and it'll be off center. That happens to me quite often. So now what I do is I hold it in place, then once it starts to stick, then I really push it down hard. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to stamp my thanks for being, and the U part I'm really not going to focus on because I'm going to be trimming that off. I'm trying not to say, it's a bad habit. It's a New York thing, Okay, so what I'm doing here, what I love so much about this stamp set is that it's versatile. And the U, this sentiment can say so many things. It can say, thanks for being there. Thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being silly. Thanks for being fun. Thanks for being, it could be anything. You could fill in anything underneath that. And I really like pairing it off with the Marshmallow Alpha dies because the sky's the limit. So you really can say anything you want with that. And what's great about the die set to this is it only cuts out part of the sentiment. You'll see what I mean in a moment. I'm just going to go ahead now and color in my sentiment. I'm pretty much using rainbow colors, but I didn't want to go too bright. I kind of wanted it just to be bright, but not super bright. So I'm going to speed this up in a moment and zoom in because it's really nothing special. I didn't do any shading, no light, medium, dark. I didn't do any of that. I just did my colors and lightly blended them together so there wouldn't be like a dramatic transition between the colors. And yeah, so I just used Roy G. Biv. And I also want to, while I'm coloring here, I want to take the opportunity to say to everyone, I hope you're being safe out there. I don't know about you, but I am really getting stir crazy. I don't know where the time is going. Days are molding into one. And I find myself getting a little depressed because I just don't know how long this is going to last. So I'm trying to stay busy. I need to start an exercise regimen because that I've been really lax about that. And I really need to try to reach out more to fellow coworkers, fellow card makers, and crafty friends, because we all are in the same boat, right? We're all in this together, even though we're separate and you feel kind of alone. All right, now back to the card. All right, this die here, I'm going to die cut it off screen because my big shot is off camera and I have a small craft room. And you see here how this was designed? The Y and U, Y and O are one piece, and the U is attached to the main part of the sentiment. See, so you can just snip off the U, and then you get a whole nother sentiment. And I think that's great. I love the way this was designed, and I will be using it a lot. And there's so many things we can do with it. You can leave it empty, you can color it in black, there's so many options. And it's thick enough where you can color it easy without worrying about bleeding. And it's nice, you can always add glossy accents. You know me, glossy accents girl. You can add tons of glossy accents to that for dimension and shine, and it just makes it so fun. It's a really fun sentiment. Here I'm just taking my Sure Snip scissors, or whatever they are. I use these for my fussy cutting, which I hate, by the way. I do not like fussy cutting. Some people like it. I find it highly irritable because I'm not very good at it. I always come up with sharp edges, and I cut crooked. I just can't do it. Okay, so there, see? It looks like it was die cut that way. And now I just use my scissors just to shave off the little couple pointy pieces. Now I'm using that frame from the Monster Hugs folding frame where the little perforation, the little, what are those called? The stitching around the edge. I like that. It's like gives it a nice finishing touch. And I'm laying out where, the YOU, I colored off screen because it's the same thing. I use green, blue, and purple. Now, when the blending isn't the greatest, and that's okay. If you do that, or if you color your letters and the blending isn't so great, I got a great tip to make it look wonderful. I stamped "You Are the Best." Underneath, I kind of laid out my sentiment and figured out where I wanted it to be in the placement. Stamped that in black, tuxedo black ink. And I added foam tape to the back of my sentiments. I spared you the boredom of watching me do that. And I adhered everything down. Now here, take whatever shimmer pen you have, or if you have Perfect Pearls, mix it with a little bit of water, add that on top of your sentiment. Just sometimes it comes out a little bloppy, you'll see it here. But if you take I think my pen is kind of running out. That's why it's starting to get like blobby, or maybe I didn't shake it up long enough. I don't know. But it comes out heavier in some areas than others. So I just go over it again until it's nice and smooth, because otherwise it doesn't look even and it kind of draws your eye to it. So to get a nice even blend, just keep going over it. And yeah, I'm just smoothing that out just to make sure the shimmer is nice and even. Now, again, adding the shimmer kind of hides the harsh blending that may be underneath. But once you add glossy accents on top of that, it really smooths everything out. I'll show you in the end. So now I'm just adding the Tombow glue again, just to add my little, it dried up a little bit, my little tip there, just to add this to my card panel. I did not prop this up on foam tape since my sentiment was already up pretty high. Make sure I get that nice and straight in the middle. Drives me crazy when things are crooked. It happens all the time, but it still drives me crazy. So once that's on there, now I'm going to use my Glossy Accents, and also I have Glossy Accents in a fine tip tube for like small areas, but I'm going to use regular Glossy Accents for the YOU and then the fine tip for the smaller areas. Now, when you use Glossy Accents, or whether it be in the original bottle or the fine tip bottle, make sure you squeeze a little bit off on the paper towel, scratch piece of paper, whatever, because the bubbles always come out in the beginning. And see on top there, I have my little poke it tool, my little Tim Holtz piercer. I use that in case bubbles come out, because when it's wet, the bubbles, you can't really see it very well. You have to really look. But when it dries, it's noticeable. So when you're putting your Glossy Accents down, turn it at different angles to make sure there are no bubbles. And if you get them, pop them, and you can always go over it, add a little bit more Glossy Accents just to make sure it's all nice and smooth. Now here I'm using the fine tip bottle and just going over my letters, and I really love the look of the Glossy Accents. By the way, my fingers aren't dirty. I got Memento refill ink on my fingers. I over inked my ink pad and I made a mess. Anyway, so that's why my fingers look black. It's from the ink. Okay, so now here is Trinity Stamps boiled sugar jelly drops. These are clear droplets, and they come in so many different sizes. I think it's 4, maybe 5, no, I think 5 different sizes. They have real big ones down to real little ones, and I love that because you can add different sizes. 3 is nice, but 4 is better, and 5 is awesome. So it's nice to have different size options for your cards. I always like to do odd numbers. I don't use even numbers. So it's either 3, 5, 7, 9, something like that for droplets, embellishments, that type of thing. I use my Crystal Katana, added those to my card, and that's it. Now, I want to ask you, this is me. I like to decorate the insides of my cards. I don't know if you like to decorate, but I'm going to show you here that in a moment. I also want to show you another card I made. It's a little different. Instead of the blending on the YOU, I used each letter, green, blue, indigo, or purple for the YOU. Little different design, but pretty much the same premise. Just the colors are different. Now I went off and sometimes I stamp directly to the inside of my card, and sometimes I add inserts. If my card is wet, sometimes I'll just stamp on a white piece of paper, some cheap cardstock from Recollections or something, just add it in there and just add it to my inside. And that's what I did here. I colored it a little bit with with Copic markers just to make it look a little pretty. And that's it, folks. I really hope you enjoyed this video and stuck with me to the end. Please leave a comment to be entered in my Thankful For You giveaway. Please stop by the Trinity shop and check out their new release. It's really pretty awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay happy, stay crafty.